Let's talk about saving files in Photoshop. The most important thing to realize is that you always need to save the Photoshop file, or else you're going to lose your ability to edit your layers that you worked so hard on creating. So here's how we do that. We're going to go to File, and then we're going to go to Save As. Now where it says Format, we want to make sure it says Photoshop. So if it doesn't, we're going to click here. We'll notice that we have lots of options, but we want to choose the very top one that just says Photoshop. We'll notice that our extension says .psd. That means it's a Photoshop file. Now we need to determine, well, where are we going to save this file to? I always start by saving to the desktop. Then once I'm ready to organize myself, I'll move it into a different folder or a different location. So mine's named Gru. Obviously it's an image of Gru, so I can go ahead and click Save. So I've just saved my Photoshop file. Now let's say I want to email somebody or I want to upload it somewhere like to Facebook. Well, if I wanted to email somebody just the image, maybe they don't need to edit it, they just want to view it, it's great to send them a JPEG. So I'm going to go back to File and to Save As. Notice our keyboard shortcut is going to be Shift Command S. So let me click off this. So I'm going to hold down Shift, Command, and S, and that's going to bring up the exact same menu as the Save As menu from earlier. This time, Format wants to be JPEG. So I'm going to click where it says Photoshop, and I'll choose JPEG. Again, I'm going to send it to the desktop, and we're going to name it as Gru. So we can hit Save because we're ready to save. Now this menu pops up. This determines the quality of the JPEG. I tend to keep my quality at the highest, which is 12, because I'm not worried about the file sizes at the moment. For now, we don't need to worry about format options. We can just click OK. So now I'm going to quit Photoshop. Here I have my Gru PSD, my Gru Photoshop file, and my Gru JPEG file. I can click on one of them and click the spacebar. This is going to preview the image. Now, if I click the down arrow, notice it says Gru JPEG. If I click the up arrow, we have Gru PSD. So the images look identical. Well, how can that be? Well, we're just previewing the image. But let's see what happens when we open both of them in Photoshop. So I'm going to highlight both of them. I'm going to right click and I'm going to go to Open With and choose Photoshop. We're going to see that the Photoshop file has all the original layers, where the JPEG is going to be smashed down into just one layer. So this is Gru.jpg. Look, we only have one background layer. If I go back to the Photoshop file, here are all of my layers that I can edit. So it's super important that you always save more than one file type. You always want your working file to be the Photoshop file. When you're ready to hand something in, to upload it somewhere, to email it, that's when you want to save it as a JPEG as well. One more thing we need to talk about real quick. Let's say we're doing a couple of edits, so maybe I don't want as much snow. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Well, we need to get in the habit of saving every couple of minutes or so, because if our program crashes, then we're going to lose, whatever we didn't save from the last time we saved. So it's good practice to get in the habit of using the Command S shortcut. So remember, Command Shift S is going to be the Save As option. If I just hit Command S, that's just going to save the Photoshop file. So every few minutes or so, I always get in the habit of just hitting Command S. That way I'm always saving my Photoshop file to have the most recent edits in it. That way if I quit the program on accident, maybe the program crashes, maybe I shut my laptop and it dies for whatever reason, I get in the habit of hitting Command S. That way I'm always saving my file to be as updated as it should be.